Hello, and thanks for coming back. We're going to start the show today with a snack, and we are sharing it with one of our guests. He is not here in the studio. It's Travis Holzem. Travis is a food forest designer. We're going to find out all about that, but we're going to start with a snack. We're going to find out what Travis is having. I'm just going to tell you, Mark and I are having nuts.
And welcome back to Snack Little, Talk a Little. I'm Mark.
And I'm Jana. And we have a guest.
You used the bell on the opening.
It's never happened before in 6 years. You're welcome, folks.
All right, well, let's bring in our guest.
Travis Holzem.
Hey, Travis, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. How you doing today?
Terrific.
Doing great. We're really happy to have you here on the show.
So we have a snack here, and I didn't talk to Jana about this during the show prep, but I know you have a snack. Do we have the same snack, or what are we doing, Jana?
Nope.
Explain it.
We're free falling. Yeah, we're free falling. So, Travis, tea and some kind of a snack. Is that right?
Yeah, I actually switched to coffee.
Oh, okay.
So I'm having
it's all
coffee
good.
with my...
Oh, okay. All
so
right.
You're having coffee and what else?
What you snacking on?
I bake my own bread, so I'm having some bread with some apple butter.
Oh my.
Man.
That sounds delicious, actually. See, now I feel like I'm totally an underachiever because I have packaged nuts here. But I will say...
That doesn't sound bad either.
They're barbecue cashews, and I was just really curious about this. Listen, I love cashews. I love them by themselves, but I'm curious about a barbecue-flavored cashew. So Mark went in with his. What do you think, Mark? Is it barbecue?
I was not ready for barbecue.
What did you think?
So,
you thought it was like roasted or...
So Jana has the bowl of nuts out here, and I thought it was going to be candy-coated nuts or something like that.
Right. I can see
so
how
when
you
I
think that.
When I put them in my mouth, it was like, barbecue? What? I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
They taste like a barbecue potato chip.
Okay.
Well, they don't taste like the chip. The barbecue
So it's
on
the same
nuts,
kind of flavoring?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tastes like that.
It's a shame to do that because, again, nuts are fine all by themselves.
Especially cashews.
Yeah.
Cashews are great.
So, Travis, you make your own bread?
I do.
That's pretty impressive. Yes. I grew up in a home with a mother who is quite the baker, and so I can appreciate some homemade bread. What about the apple butter?
That is not made.
So you're not a canner
out
yet?
Of the jar.
Okay.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
Eventually it will be.
I will tell you that we are drinking, there's a brand called Olipop that makes like prebiotic and probiotic drinks. So this is supposed to be good for your gut. This one is banana cream. Mark, you tried it. What do you think?
Well, it's got a barbecue tint to it because of the, I got to say, one of the problems I have
with that just on the Super Bowl commercial?
Oh, yeah, I think it was.
Olipop?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't watch it. Sorry.
Yeah, this is that brand. But so normally on barbecue potato chips, my issue is there's never enough of the barbecue sauce, the barbecue stuff on them. These nuts have plenty. And they have...
You should have said D's nuts, I think. Isn't it how that's supposed to work?
Yeah. Perfect.
But they have plenty on them. And so because of that, there's so much more that stays in my mouth.
I want to hate that, but that's actually pretty good.
It is. It's great.
Yeah.
So it's hard to cleanse my palate. You know what? I have some water here. I'm going to cleanse my palate.
This is for Travis and for any of you that want to know. The brand is Simple Truth Cashews, Memphis style barbecue. I really do want to hate it, but I mean, wow, that's some strong barbecue. It means business, and a little bit of heat. But I'm a lightweight, Travis. I'm a lightweight. I can't do heat. Mark, on the other hand, likes hot.
So food. This Olipop soda, a new kind of soda, Olipop, banana cream. I just tasted it after rinsing my mouth,
neutralizing with water,
right? Yeah. It tastes like it has an artificial sweetener in it. I'm going to say that before reading it.
It wouldn't surprise me. It's very banana forward, but it tastes like a banana that to me is like older than I like.
Yeah. So it's carbonated water, Ollie Smart, which is whatever they call that. That's says cassava root fiber, chicory root inulin, Jerusalem artichoke inulin,
Interesting.
nopal cactus, marshmallow root, that's my high school nickname.
So let me just
Candelula
say,
flower,
it's just a clear liquid. When you hear all of this,
banana puree, cassava root syrup, lemon juice, double-folded stevia leaf.
right?
That would be the sweetener. Himalayan pink salt, natural flavor, natural banana cream flavor, extract. You know what, though? The stevia is a natural. It's not an artificial sweetener.
Yep.
But this, to me, tastes like it has aspartame in it, and it's not listed on the ingredients. And I'm not saying that it does. I'm just saying that, for me, it tastes like aspartame. Tastes like an aftertaste that I don't like.
I've had some of the Olipop flavors before. I would say this isn't my favorite, but that's just because, again, I'm a banana snob. I like a fresh, new banana flavor, not like old bananas. I don't want an old banana.
Oh my God. How about old nuts?
Okay. All right now. So about that bread.
Our poor guest. So Travis, tell us about your bread. You said you make it yourself. What do you make it from, and where do you get your ingredients?
Oh, it's just simple white bread, but I get some good bread flour. It's only like 6 ingredients. Takes me 5 minutes to whip it up.
I love that.
And I actually put it in my bread maker to mix it, and so it can raise.
Yeah.
And then once it's finished, I throw it in I have a Dutch oven that's where I cook it, is in the Dutch oven inside my oven.
So that would probably give it a nice crisper outside, I would think.
I brush egg whites on it, so that helps give it a nice crusty outside.
Now I want some nice, fresh, warm.
I know, it
homemade
sounds
bread.
so good. So you only use your bread maker just to knead the dough and let it rise. You don't cook it in the bread maker then?
No, just to do that, because then I can work and do whatever I want and let that handle all the business.
I see. Because I have a bread maker, and I haven't used it in years, but when I first got it, we used to make bread all the time. But, we made it in that same bread maker, and of course you have the paddle at the bottom that's always in the bottom of the bread, and you have to take that out, obviously. But
this one has a dough cycle on it. It still has the paddle on the bottom,
right?
But it doesn't affect it any when I take it out. But it has a dough option. It takes about an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So
I bet you mine probably does. I just probably never read the instructions.
So I
used to do the bread maker.
Right.
So Travis and Mark, you guys have a few things in common. One of them is Marcus does a lot of cooking for himself.
That's because it's only me.
Well, right. He's a single father.
Same here.
And I was a single father. My boys are out of the house, but
wow.
And he gardens.
And I garden. So I'm really excited that we have you on the show.
I have my nose pressed out the window of all of the people that garden. I grew up in a gardening family. I have a lot of gardeners in my family, but I don't like worms and grubs. And I want somebody else to do the gardening for me so that I don't have to.
But gardening's a lot of work.
It is. So that's why we have you on the show, because of your food forest thing. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the subject we're going to talk about.
Well, I have always been interested in growing food. When my mom had a garden in the backyard, I like cantaloupe and melon. So I got some seeds and I threw them in the garden with my mom's, all the stuff she was growing. And I was just always amazed at watching, you put a seed in the ground and all of a sudden a few days later it pops up out of the ground, and just starts growing. And in a couple of months it turns into food.
Right.
And it just always amazed me. And I just told myself, when I get older, I want to be able to grow all my own food. And so it was always in the back of my mind. And, going through life, I'm a single father too. My boys are out of the home. And then 5 years ago, I had an opportunity to help start a new business, which was designing and installing food forests. And that's how I got to where I'm at.
So
and,
have you heard it called that before, Mark? A food forest?
I have heard of food forest before.
Okay. So for our listeners, explain to them why you would call it a food forest. Why is it called that?
Okay. Well,
as opposed to just a garden.
Yeah, there's another word for it called permaculture.
Okay.
And permaculture is a design philosophy or design science that helps you create sustainable human environments by mimicking natural ecosystems, just like you would see on the side of the road when you're driving. You see a forest or a wooded area. You know, you have trees of all different sizes,
yes,
from the ground all the way up to the top of the canopy. That's the same thing with a food forest. And you're combining agriculture, ecology, and other disciplines to develop a self-sustaining system that provides for humans while enhancing biodiversity and wildlife. So basically, you're working with nature and not against nature. And a perennial food forest is, well, there's a difference. A garden is an annual garden.
Yes.
Okay, so you plant your seeds in the spring, and you harvest in the fall, and then the next spring you do it all over again. With a perennial is a tree or a bush or a plant. You plant it one time, and then it goes through its seasonal growth cycle, and then like here in Minnesota, it gets cold, it freezes, so they take a nap. They drop all their leaves and take a nap and wake up in the spring again. So a tree comes back year after year after year.
Mm-hmm.
So you plant, with the food forest, you're planting apple trees, pear trees, plum trees. In warmer climates, you got your citrus fruits.
Yes.
And you plant it one time and it comes back year after year and gets larger, and you get a larger harvest year after year. So when I plant out or design a food forest, I'm designing a guild or a community of plants and trees. So a food forest has 7 layers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you have your canopy layer, which is your large fruit or nut trees, which provide shade so some of the other trees and plants below it don't get sunburned, or
that makes sense.
Get too much heat up.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have another, the second layer is your dwarf fruit trees, which is your lower layer. And then you got your shrub layer as a third layer, which is your currants and berries and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have an herbaceous layer, which is your herbs, comfreys, beets, stuff like that. And then the other layer, the rhizosphere layer, which is your tubers that you grow underground, and that helps break up soil. And then you have your ground cover, which could be clover, it could be creeping thyme, wild strawberry, and that helps protect your soil from the elements. Plus, you're getting a yield out of it, and you're adding nitrogen to the soil. And then the 7th layer is your vine layer. So your fruit tree, your canopy layer acts as a trellis. So you can grow your vining plants, and you use that tree as a trellis. So all of these plants work together with each other to help each other grow, just like you see the forest on the side of the road. That's what they're all doing. They all have their own job to do. And just one example of this is comfrey, which is an amazing plant, and it is called a dynamic accumulator. So comfrey has a very, very long taproot that goes 8 to 10 feet down into the soil, where all the other fruit trees have a shorter root system, so they don't go as deep.
Mm-hmm.
So comfrey goes down and mines all the nutrients from the soil and takes up all those nutrients and minerals in its stems, leaves, flowers. And once it gets mature, what you do is you chop it down and you use it as mulch, a live mulch, in your guild, and that puts the nutrients into the soil. And it also has pretty purple flowers, attracts huge bumblebees. So it's a pollinator as well, and insect attractor. So that helps build soil along with all the other plants.
So how do you spell that? I'm really interested in that plant now.
COMFRY.
Frey. Yes.
Oh, is there an
COMFREY.
EY.
So
And-
I'm just curious, I don't know if this is a side note. I believe, is comfrey often used like in a medicinal way?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's
All right.
one. Yes. You can make teas with it. And I know some people make ointments with it too, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, there's so many uses for comfrey. It's an amazing.
I'll tell you, when the whole COVID thing happened, and I think I mentioned this in the messages we've exchanged, I definitely became more interested in ways to heal yourself with what's just here and available. And you start going down that rabbit hole, and I find I can look in my own yard and find things that are edible. I mean, my goodness, I have a bougainvillea growing, and apparently parts of the bougainvillea you can make tea. And of course, we know about dandelion greens. My personal belief is that they are so bitter, it's not a favorite. But I'm determined to find a way to not hate them. But when you start looking around at how much is here that we don't eat. And so, so now we're talking, though, about the different food. There are certain foods that play, or there are certain things that you plant that they play well together, and others that don't. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, companion planting.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
There's some things you don't plant together because they don't interact with.
So if
correctly
somebody
with each other.
is wanting you to help them design something like this, it's possible what they want isn't the best choice all the time.
So that's what we do when I'm designing somebody's property. I actually send them a list of all the plants and trees and everything that grows in their grow zone, depending on where they live. And they tell me everything they want to grow in their yard or property. It doesn't matter where. If they have a lake home, it could be a school, it could be a church.
Yeah.
It could be a business, no matter what. And then I will start putting everything together to basically be as low maintenance for the steward as possible, because a lot of people don't want to have to do all that work like regular gardening.
Travis, you're speaking my language over here.
Now, see, it's funny because I'm really intrigued by what you're saying when you talked about the 7 layers and stuff like that. Because for me, as a home gardener, I don't do that at all, in the sense that I have 8 fruit trees, but they're all separated. They're about 10 feet apart at the center, because I plan, to just trim them back to about 5-foot circles and trim them down to 7 or 8 feet. Top them off, I should say, 7 or 8 feet. But between them, I have nothing but mulch ground cover type of stuff that I keep clear of weeds and everything, because I keep it looking like I try to. Well, you know what? No one gets to see it. I always keep it meticulously clean.
Nobody knows any different.
And we do that too. We add I add a 6 to 8 inches of mulch on top of my guilds and plant right into, because I'm also adding soil on top, or before I add the mulch, I'm adding probably 6 to 8 inches of nice garden soil with amendments and everything in there, and then we cover it up with mulch. And mulch helps protect the soil, but it's also live nutrients because it's organic material,
right?
And it breaks down and adds nutrients to the soil, and it also, as it protects your soil, it holds water and holds moisture, so you can be drought tolerant in the summer when you don't get that rain.
I actually misspoke. What I use is not mulch. I use just wood chips and stuff like that. It's not officially mulch.
That's wood chips is what I'm talking about. Wood chips or mulch.
I just want to be specific, because what I'm putting is just to make it look good, and I let all the leaves fall and let them all stay out there. I guess that turns to mulch.
Yeah.
But I've never thought, this is one of the things when you were talking about the different layers, I thought, oh man, my annual fruit trees, or, well, I guess technically they're not annual, but once they drop their leaves, because see, here in Southern California, we're inland Southern California, zone 9, I believe. And I could put beans and peas and grow those on those trees during the winter time. And I'm like, As soon as you said that, I was like, can we stop right now? I want to go home and
I need to go to Home Depot and
I want to go plant some things right now because
Another good thing is to grow wild strawberry at the base of your fruit trees.
see, now the reason my house, my yard, my street is filled with squirrels. And I just think putting wild strawberries is going to encourage even more squirrels to eat even more of my food. And we live within the city, so I'm not allowed to sit out there with my 22 and pick them off like I want to.
Did you hear
I have a pellet gun too.
No, this was going to be a 22. I didn't want my pellet gun.
Okay, no, we're getting into a territory that Jenna doesn't want to hear about, like shooting animals.
Ding, ding.
That's
Squirrels
right.
are animals? No.
That is a problem and there's the cats too. He has a lot of feral cats that come and go. I don't know if they'd mess with your strawberries, but they might pee on them.
Well, I have everything. I have cats, raccoons, skunks, squirrel, possum, and that's about it.
One thing you're using, sorry to interrupt, wild
no.
strawberry is more as a ground cover and helping add nutrients to the soil. So a lot of them don't produce strawberries all the time.
Oh, that's
they're just
okay.
So
that's good
it's
to
more
know.
for health. Yeah, and it's wild strawberry versus all the other different types of strawberries.
Yeah, because I certainly have different varieties of strawberries. Some of them I have in covered meaning I have a either hardware cloth or a chicken wire cover over them so that the creatures can't get to them. But
good idea.
Okay, so when you're helping a person, when you're designing their food forest, obviously you're going to need to keep in mind. So, do you go as deep as like checking their soil, or is that like more than you need to? You do. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's one thing. That's one thing we do is when I go to Google Earth and I get a top-down view of the property, so I get all the dimensions and everything. Mm-hmm. But then I also go to different websites and I get the data about the history of the land in your area. Oh, and I find out what type of soil you have. But you can also take the soil and have it tested to find out about your soil. And then we also find out how much sun does the property get.
Yeah.
And like rainfall. There's so many different types of data that goes into it. So we're not just throwing trees and plants in the ground and hoping for the best. So we're taking all that into consideration.
That's not how you garden?
That is the way to learn, watch and learn, observe and interact, right?
So, okay. Some things will produce fruit or vegetables. They'll produce whatever more than once a year, right? I mean, I know that some of my So if you plant something in there, are you planting something that first of all, it's going to reseed itself, and would they produce at different times during the year, or is it better to have everything produce at the same time of year, or does that even play into it? Does it matter?
Usually it's, like here in Minnesota, you have a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
So,
it's a little different here in California.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the heat gets pretty bad sometimes.
Yeah. It will just go through its natural cycles.
Okay.
And when we plant guilds out, we are taking into consideration what kind of pests you have, because you have certain things you can plant for pest deterrents.
Okay. Yeah.
To keep things away and all that type of stuff. So.
Wow. I mean, you're really taking all the work out for someone. I mean, you're doing all the work.
Yeah, like we said, we work with nature, not against it. So, and it's a design science. And so that's why it's so specialized.
Yeah. And now again, you're saying that everything, the idea would be that everything you're planting is a perennial. So once it's done, it's done?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What wouldn't be? If you said that, then I didn't catch that and write it down. So are there certain things that you would have to go in and plant, every year, or?
Yeah, it's really minimal.
Okay.
Some vegetables you might have to reseed in your guilds. But for the most part, all your flowers, your natives and plants like that, they will reseed themselves and come back.
Okay, so you'll design this. Are you the one that goes out and plants this? I mean, are you hands-on out there helping the people, or what happens once the design is decided upon and you and the homeowner have decided this is it? This here is the food forest.
If they are within 3 hours of me, I will do the install myself.
Okay.
Otherwise, I have some install teams, and I'm starting to build up. It's funny. I'm launching the Food Forest Design Network here over the next couple of weeks, which is I'm going to be having install teams all over the country join my network, and I will be designing properties all over the U.S. And then once I design the property, I will be able to hand it off to an install team in their area. So be able to do designs everywhere, and then have an install team in that area. So,
what are the criteria for your install team?
Your installers,
like a home gardener that knows his way around a garden.
Yes, that works. Yeah, I mean, if that's what you'd like to do, because I built this business from the ground up, and I had no idea how to run a business like this until I built it.
Right.
So I have a complete training system. Everything I learned, I put together in a training program. So somebody like you that doesn't know how to install a food forest, I have a step-by-step training program that teaches you. And I also I've been doing this for 5 years now. So I'm a rookie, I guess you could say, but I'm getting really good at it.
Yeah.
But I have mentors that have been doing it for 30 years. So that's who I learned from. And they always help me out. Like you might have water issues on somebody's property where the water pools up when it rains and floods their yard.
Yeah.
So we capture that water and we direct it onto the property, because water is energy in your system. So we try to hold that water as long as possible into that system, so we can direct it where it needs to go, or create a pond to keep it so everything flows right there. So a lot of my mentors, I designed a tiny home village in St. Croix Falls, Wisconsin.
And I love this.
Awesome place. 16 shipping container, deluxe, supreme shipping container homes. Beautiful, double deckers, but there's 16 of them in this property.
You'll have to send me the link for that. We'll take a look at that, but also I'll share it on our
social media site.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I
have it. It's in the gallery on my website, and also I have some videos on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
About that. But what we did, they were having water issues where it would flood their community garden. They had a beautiful community garden. Well, I went in and I called my mentor, Graham. He's in Michigan, and he's an engineer in his other career, but he's also been doing permaculture for 30 years. And hey, how can we direct this water? And so we made a swale around the outside, which is like a trench or a ditch. And we directed the water around the whole community garden, and then it came together on the opposite side of it and created a pond. And then once that pond overflowed, there's another water catchment pond, a big one across the street. So once that would fill up, it would flow into the larger pond. So we made a rock rain gardens around there. So we plant all types of water-loving plants and trees in the swales that go around the outside. So you're growing food and other types of stuff in plants and trees in the swales also. So you just use the land and
that sounds wonderful. I mean, actually, it sounds magical. It probably looks wonderful, but wow, I mean, you are really doing all of the work, thinking of all of the ways to make use of the land that you got.
Well, he said one word a few times that I'm a little confused because it's something I don't hear very often. What is this? Rain? Rain?
Right. Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What is that?
We did happen to have a really nice storm, though.
Yeah.
It just moved out.
So it's interesting. So I've been to the Midwest, and I used to live in the Pacific Northwest in a very rainy area, and so all this stuff you're talking about, the swales and the water and the pond to another pond and all that, I totally get it. But let me tell you, here in inland Southern California, we don't have stuff like that. This past season we have been the driest year, I think, in the second driest year in recorded history in Southern California.
Well, yeah, and usually, in that case, we use drip line irrigation systems.
Right.
It can come right off the spigot on your house, and put it on a timer, and it will just drop. It will just start dripping into the soil whenever you need that water.
Well, you probably heard a little bit on the news about those wonderful fires we had just recently. Sometimes our blankety blank governor likes to put us Californians on a water diet.
Yeah.
And so even if you're not in a fire prone area, we all end up being put on a water diet. And we do have water. We do.
In the area that we live,
I heard all about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I won't even get into it because that gets into politics. We don't want to get into politics.
Yeah, we don't want to tick anybody off. But yes, it's a sore point for us, for sure. It's very true.
But I will say, and I say this often when I talk to my friends about gardening, that without government, meaning our local municipality, without government water, I would not be able to garden. That's how dry our area is. I do have a rain collector, but we have not had, until recently, we have not had rain, and it has been a very dry year, that without government water, I would not be able to garden year-round like I do. So it's just, when you're talking about all this stuff about, how the water flows across the surface, I'm like, what?
It looks like a nice problem to have, right?
Right. I'm like, man, that would be great. Because like you say, I do capture rainwater, but, I only can use it. I only got about a week's worth after a good rain. So
are there certain things?
All of your listeners out there in California, in those areas that burned down, that are rebuilding their properties.
They're not yet, unfortunately, because of that governor. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I heard about that too, which is really sad.
Yeah, it is.
But they can design their properties now because they have a clean slate, obviously, because there's nothing left.
Right.
But you can make that, you can plant it out so there's be less damage in a fire.
Right.
You can, and they can also, design these properties that have all food producing plants and trees on their property. It'll look just as beautiful as the ornamental that don't produce anything, so.
And
trying to get it.
Where some of those areas are at, I mean, I don't know that there are a lot of times that, like the LA area, they'll get the rain that we don't a little bit further inland. And so they're probably in a better situation all around.
Well, certainly Altadena is being
climate.
Altadena is in the foothills, and they get a lot more rain than we do here in the valley.
So I'm assuming that wherever you live, except for maybe Death Valley, California.
Oh boy, been there.
Have you? Okay, well, I would assume that anybody can grow something that they could eat, even if water is, scarce or no.
Yeah, I mean, okay, right now I live in a townhouse, so I don't have a big property right now. Mm-hmm. I'm actually looking for land so I can do that. But you can get cloth pots or cloth bags, and you can grow anything in these cloth bags. You can put fruit trees in them or fruit trees in pots, and you can have them on your patio. You can grow in your windows, herb gardens in your window. You can definitely grow a lot of food. And my townhouse has a 10 by 10 foot concrete patio on the front, and I had 40 different varieties of food growing.
Wow.
In that 10 by 10 space.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's amazing. I love that.
Looked like a jungle, but had a lot of food in it.
Right. That makes me feel bad about all the land that I have that I'm not using. I have a very,
you do.
I have a large backyard for our area, let's say, because it is Southern California. But I only use about a third of it because it's just too much maintenance for one person to do. But now I'm reconsidering things based on the stuff that you're saying that, man, if I could get like a food forest going, it would be low maintenance for,
because it's all in the same area.
For that, for the other 2/3 of the stuff. I mean, I certainly have the stuff that I plant and replant on a regular basis in my designated gardens. But man, the whole back of my yard that I just let go like a field, if that was a food forest, it would be pretty much self-sustaining. I just have to get some water out there to it.
Yeah, and and that's what you're with food forest. You're stacking functions,
right?
So you can fit more food in a smaller space. So you can really you can feed your family in a small yard.
Well, and things have been really wackadoodle in the world, and I think more than ever, I think there are so many more people who are drawn to being more self-sufficient and making sure that you have food storage and are growing some of your own things, or just ways to protect your family or heal your family or feed your family. And so I think this is really great for maybe even me. No, it is great for me. I'm loving the idea that this sounds like it's fair, other than the original part where I might have to see a touch of worm or a grub. But after that, not so much.
But if you have someone else do it, because I know one of the things you want done with your front yard is an English garden.
I do.
Which is, obviously the same kind of concept, except you're not eating out of it, but it's a whole bunch of plants that interact together and make a thing. This is the same thing, and you have a backyard back there that you could do stuff too.
More behind the garage too.
But yeah,
there may be a lot where you're at, Travis, but it's a 144-year-old home, and the properties it's not big. It's not even an acre, but for our area, it's a decent amount of yard, and a lot of it's going to waste when it comes to food that I can eat. Except that now I know that I can make tea from my bougainvillea. So there's that.
Yeah, one thing too, if you have, people have fences in their yard.
Yeah.
You can use your fence as a trellis and grow, have grapes and everything growing right up your fences, and use that, have a food fence.
That's true. So Mark, do you still you've had grapes before, have you not?
Yeah, I have grapes. I have grapevines.
And mulberry tree, or is that gone?
No, the mulberry tree's gone.
Okay.
Because, the mulberry tree only produced mulberries like every 5 or 6 years. It was not very... It was really
That's
odd.
That's a long time to be dormant.
It was a great tree, but it only produced the mulberry fruit only occasionally. But yeah, I have grapes right now. So
in this climate, they produce all the time. They really produce up here.
Oh, really?
Mine was my particular tree was so rare. It was like, what, I got to get rid of that tree. Only because it was also interacting with my walls. It was right up next to a wall and things, and it needed to be taken out because it was damaging the house.
And
have you tried elderberry?
I have not. I've not even thought, because so Travis, here's what I do. And our listeners will know that I make ice cream a lot out of a lot of stuff in my yard. And I actually had made mulberry ice cream one time. But I couldn't make it on a regular basis because it didn't produce. So I never even thought of doing any kind of elderberry or anything like that. Most of my trees are...
And elderberries are also supposed to be great medicinally speaking. I don't
yeah,
know.
Elderberries are great for you.
Never even considered. I wonder if they grow in our area, I wonder? I don't know.
I don't know either.
I'm just used to fruit trees. I'm a big fruit tree... not that elderberries aren't a fruit. I guess technically... Wait, are they a fruit or are they a vegetable?
Yeah, they are fruit.
Okay.
It's a berry.
All right. But no, I've never considered that.
How long does it take them? See, now that's another thing. When it comes to something I want to grow, I've got a pineapple, the head of the pineapple in there. I don't even know how much longer do I have to wait. Will I even still be on this earth when it finally produces?
2 years.
Okay, well then I'm not doing something right, obviously, because it might be about a year old now, actually. So you know what? Something might still happen.
But they will take 2 years for a pineapple to grow.
Right.
So have you seen the pink pineapples, Travis?
Pink?
They're,
I have not.
they're,
seen
the
pink.
flesh of the pineapple is pink, and I won't even go into how much I paid for it, but I had to know what does a pink pineapple taste like. And yeah, I tried that out and then gave Mark the seeds of it because he's a grower and he's collecting. You would appreciate this, I think, that Mark a lot of times will collect the seeds from different things and then plant it later.
Yes,
so he has
that's how you do it.
very expensive pink pineapple that's maybe, about 2 inches now?
I have some bad news. I'm sorry.
'Cause I have a lemon tree and a lime tree, or like I have 3 lemon trees and 3 lime trees, and I grew them from seed.
I have to share some bad news with Jana. The pink pineapple, I up potted it, and it's not looking good at all.
Okay, well, you got to fix that.
I can't believe
that was a $17 pineapple.
I know. So Travis, let me tell you the pink pineapple story. So Jana, buys her pink pineapple, invites me over, or I was here to record a show or whatever. And the pink pineapples, they cut the top off when they put it in a box. They put it in a little fancy box and everything, right? So she gave me some of the skin anyway, because I thought, well, let me see. And I learned something. I did not know this. The pineapple skin, each one of those, pentagon or hexagon, whatever the shapes.
Yeah.
Those are seed pods.
Oh, yeah, they totally have seeds.
There are seeds in there.
Yeah, but they're cutting the top off so you can't grow another pineapple.
Right.
Well, I mean, because the top is what you want to put in the ground.
But the skin is full of seeds.
Thought. Dun dun dun.
So I popped open a couple of them, and I planted a few. And one of them germinated, and I was growing a pineapple, not from the top, which I also have 2 pineapples in my house that are growing from the top.
Okay.
But I was growing this pink pineapple from seed, and it was only in a regular 8-ounce cup that I had. And I thought, you know what? I don't want it to get too root bound or anything, so I'm going to up pot it. So I up potted it to a really tall, like a 16-inch tall pot that's about 6-7 inches in diameter. Anyway, and it's not looking good. I'm sorry. Sorry to report.
Sometimes they go through that. They might have had transplant shots.
I imagine it may have, but it was kind of the whole. I almost practically put the whole cup in there, but we'll see. But I'm just reporting now. It's not looking good. I'm sorry.
'Cause I have banana trees I'm growing, and
oh, really? Indoors?
Yeah. I put them outside in the summer, and then I bring them indoors. They're under grow lights in my basement.
Wow.
And they're dwarf Cavendish banana trees, and they will get sick because they have a lot of pups that grow on the side.
Right.
You have your mother plant, and then a lot of pups come up, and when you separate the pups off that mother, it shocks the mother, and sometimes it looks like they're going to die. So all the leaves will turn brown. You just chop all the leaves off. Every leaf I chop off, I put it in the soil so it's mulch.
Wow.
And all the nutrients go back in. And they will come back just about every time. And now I have about 13 banana trees downstairs.
Wow.
I got to say,
and they all have pups on them.
So
they're double now.
That's going to be a lot of banana bread.
that is one thing that we can grow outside and stay outside all year round is banana trees here. I have not done that yet.
I'm surprised.
And the banana tree takes up a lot of room though. When you get a real banana tree, they're huge.
I thought that just grew straight up. No,
the dwarf banana trees they only get 8 to 10 feet high at their highest, so they won't take up much space.
Yeah, but in order to get a dwarf, I'd have to go to a nursery and buy one, and I don't buy things. I grow everything from seed.
Or you can. I have a bunch of them.
I'm the guy,
and they ship well.
I'm the guy who.
Here you go, Mark.
If I ever get pulled over by the police and they go through my pockets and open my wallet, in my wallet they're going to find 2 small Ziploc baggies
that look like I forget what they
look
call
like
those.
paraphernalia, drug paraphernalia.
Yeah,
but it's not there. I literally keep them in there because whenever I'm out doing work, whenever I'm doing work somewhere or on a hike or anything like that, I will gather up seeds and I'll put them in my little Ziploc baggies and I take them home and I grow stuff. I have plants that I've got from one from the San Bernardino County Museum. I got that. I have.
They didn't take too kindly when he broke the case to get the seeds out of the thing. But,
Yeah, right.
Said something about ancient
Or why do you have
something.
scissors in your pocket?
But my stuff, nearly everything in my garden is grown from seed.
Well, can't you just find a dwarf banana and like stick it in the ground and water it? Is that not how it works?
I'm going to ding dwarf banana because that's funny.
All right. So it probably doesn't work that
But
way.
I've grown strawberries from seeds. In fact, I have my strawberry plants this year. The ones I grew from seed are looking like this is going to be the year they produce. They did not produce last year, but yeah, grown strawberry from seed. My bird of paradise, which Jana knows is huge on my back door. That was grown from seeds that I brought back from Hawaii. So although you can get bird of paradise all over down here, they do grow, and the nurseries all sell them. But again, I pride myself on so much that I've started with seeds. But
yeah, I do. I love growing them from seed, and I have that's a lot of my indoor plants, like monsterosas and Australian umbrella tree, or you know what a ponytail palm looks like?
I do not.
No,
They're-
I'm going to look it up.
Yeah,
Ponytail
but I
palm.
grew them from seed, and they're small, but they get it's an indoor plant. I mean, you could grow them outside too, and I'm sure they grow a lot faster. But yeah, they're
okay.
really.
Okay, I've seen this
It looks
before.
like a small palm tree, but it's more. The trunk is short, and it they call it ponytail, or because it looks like a big head of hair.
It
Yeah,
looks like
I've
a
seen
Dr.
it.
Seuss character,
Yeah,
actually.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
So-
And then okay, go ahead.
So what I'm curious is, you said that you actually have some citrus that you've grown from seed.
Yeah.
Now our area here was huge in citrus. In fact, our whole city and everything was created because of but became famous nationwide because of its citrus. And
Silk
so we have a
first,
huge
but that didn't
citrus
pan
heritage.
out,
In fact,
so-
in fact, here in our city, we have the California State Citrus Heritage Park. So,
Nice.
so we're in a huge citrus area. And what I learned by going to the Citrus Museum many years ago and stuff is that citrus is so finicky that you could take a perfect seed from an orange and plant it. It's not going to necessarily grow an orange plant. You never know what it's going to be. It's going to be some random citrus thing. I have done that I currently have 3 citrus trees that are all 3 still in big pots. One of them grew what I called a sour orange. The other one grew a grapefruit that I'm not quite sure what to call it yet, because it only produced 4 small fruit, and I'm going to wait until it gets some regular sized fruit before I judge whether to keep it or not. So what have you done? How do you what seeds did you use, and what came from those seeds?
The dwarf lemon and lime trees, I just ordered the seeds for a dwarf because I
Really?
didn't want. Yeah, and they're only about 2 feet high at most, and I think my lime tree had like 50 limes on it.
Wow.
And
Wow.
and they didn't get really big. They would have got bigger if I would have probably cut about half of them off, and so they could put more nutrients and more strength into less.
Mm-hmm.
And then my lemon trees, about the same size, and I get lemons off of there, and you never get a lemon at a store that would taste like that.
Right. Oh, agreed. I'm just amazed that you grew those from seed, and they sent you seeds for a lemon tree, and it grew a lemon tree because. Serious, because no, at the talking with the people at the Citrus Heritage Museum, they said you can't do that. That's why there's so many, the nurseries. Well, maybe they have a stake in the nurseries. The nurseries have grafted plants in order to guarantee what you're getting. So that's strange to me.
Is that another California thing?
Maybe it is. Maybe it's regulated by the governor.
It could
Yeah,
be.
the other ones are just lemons I get from the store.
Right.
That I threw them in some soil, and I have a couple of them growing, and then a lime tree. It's about 3 feet high now, and still no blooms or limes on it. It's a couple years old. But hopefully within the next year I'll get some blooms on that. But I never had any luck with oranges, getting them to propagate.
Interesting.
So ideally, because you said that, you want to find a place with more property that allows you to have more of a food forest. How much property are we talking? How much would you want? Because, I mean, the more you have, the more, well, I don't know. I was going to say the more you have to maintain, but do you really? Once the initial part is taken care of.
The property I am looking to get is going to be about 150 to 200 acres. And
is that all?
Wow.
Yeah. And what I'm looking to do is I am going to build an education site, to show people how easy it is to grow food. But a lot of it's going to be a food forest, but I'm going to have animals, chickens and cows and stuff like that and then bees. And then on the property itself, I'm going to sell lots for off-grid homesteads, and
that's really smart.
So it's going to be a permaculture farm, but it's also going to be a homestead community, similar to the tiny home village. I might put a tiny home village on the property also.
We need to connect you to a friend of the show. There's a man up in it's not really the mountains. He's somewhere midway between here and the mountains of California. He owns a business that his family has had since the late 1800s. And he was talking about, and still has, but he's kind of backed off on it a little bit, but he's been talking about building homes on their property. They have a lot of property, and had a lot of people that were like-minded come and talk about, how we could, help, and would we be interested, and how would this look? And so he grew, my goodness, apples is the thing in this particular area called Oak Glen. So there are a lot of apples there, but he grows many things on his property. So you two sound very similar.
Yeah, you can grow, a friend of mine has 80 acres and he has 250 different types of food growing on his property.
Wow.
Yeah.
So totally self-sufficient.
He's been off grid for 12 years.
Wow.
And amazing. He's one of the best. He's one of my mentors also. He's a world-class permaculture designer, and he can design anywhere in the world. It's amazing what he has.
I love.
And your animals will spread your food forest, because they come into your food forest and they eat berries, and then they go fly off somewhere, and then they,
circle of life of the food that starts on one end and ends up on the other end.
Yeah.
Do you know?
And then they do their droppings, and there's a seed in it, or.
So Mark and I talked about this a few seasons ago, and I feel like now would be the proper time to insert this in here. So
I know what's coming. Oh my God.
Stay with me for a minute.
Oh my gosh.
I happened to be watching one season Survivor, and I think it was Survivor. There was a guy it was Naked and Afraid, one of those shows. The guy decided, okay, this is how I'm going to survive. Like it was for 41 days instead of the normal 28. He ate a bunch of tomatoes before he left because he knew that eventually they would pass through. And so when he started doing that, he was burying all of it and keeping track of where he was burying all of the stuff. And he did it. Now, I think it was at the very end of the show when it finally started growing, but his tomatoes did finally start growing. So I did suggest to Mark that maybe sometime he should grow a poop tomato.
She wanted me to eat a tomato, poop in the ground, and grow it.
Yeah.
I'm not promising I'm going to eat the poop tomato, but you could tell me about it
makes
later.
sense.
Who said you haven't already?
That's true. But, I mean, technically, my stepfather, he would go out and pee on all of his orange trees, which is really gross to me. Again, I'm mostly pretty much a city girl, so I'm like, what? Why do you do that? But I don't know if there's anything to it, but they always had some of the best citrus around. Is that a guy thing?
Yeah.
Do you all go out and pee on your trees?
Yeah, these days I wouldn't suggest it because all the tainted food everybody's eating. So you probably kill your citrus trees.
Right.
That's
burn them.
That's very true.
And that's another reason to grow your own food is because all our food is full of chemicals and pesticides, herbicides, and sprayed with chemicals, so.
Maybe that'll change here in the next little while.
I call my garden, I say it's mostly organic, only because I do use Miracle Grow potting soil. So I do have some chemicals in it. Other than that, I do not use any pesticides or anything like that, which is, causes a lot of frustration when I do get the pests. But mine, and I eat from my garden nearly every day. Now, when I say that, it's always fun to say that as a Southern Californian to my friends. I eat out of my garden every day. Well, during the winter season, mostly it means I'm eating onions. I have some form of chopped onions that I put on top of my nachos with plenty of cheese and stuff like that. But I do eat out of my garden nearly every day. In fact, last night we had a little friendly get together, and Jana was there, and we had grapefruit juice. Oh no, the grapefruit juice was not from my garden. We had chili corn dogs is what we had. But I had red onion from my garden. I also had with our chips, I had tomatillo salsa that was from my garden, and that also
you grow your own salsa. That's amazing.
That was also, and it was also the garlic in the salsa was also from my garden.
It was delicious.
And then for dessert, we had orange sherbet, which also the oranges were from my orange tree. So I had friends over, and we had a lot of stuff out of my garden last night. I try to include that all the time in dinner. So I'm on board with it. I'm just not fully on board. So how much stuff do you eat out of your gardens on a regular basis, Travis?
Well, in the summer months when I have everything growing, just about daily, because I grow a lot of herbs, and I use them in my cooking. Even I grow herbs in my windowsill also all winter long. Mm-hmm. And I like rosemary, so I like to grow a lot of rosemary. I use that when I cook fish or bake fish. And,
make some olive rosemary bread with your bread cooking self.
Oh, I've done that. Oh, it's so good.
Oh, I know.
Oregano.
So I yours,
and basil. I grow 6 different types of basil. And
wow.
So yeah, I grow everything. So I'm always in a lot of different peppers, and peppers grow. Once you get the peppers going, they keep fruiting all summer long. And then I've actually had some pepper plants for 2 years because I bring them inside, put them under grow lights, and they continue to fruit during the winter again. And then in my basement, I have it's called a deep water culture or aquaponic or hydroponic system. It's with 5-gallon buckets. Mm-hmm. And you have 1 5-gallon bucket with all the nutrients, and then I have 6 other buckets with plants growing in there. So it's constantly getting water through the root systems, and there's a bubbler underneath that splashes nutrients on the roots, and then there's also a drip line on top that drips on top of the plants. And so peppers grow constantly, and so I'm always getting, just about daily, I get food. So
that's interesting to me that you keep a pepper plant for more than a year, or something, only because, and I've done that. I've done that before, and this is outdoors here because we only in our area where we live, we might get a couple of frost days. Rarely, I shouldn't say rarely, but not very often are the frosts back to back. So most stuff will last. But I gotta say, I go on a garden tour that we have here every year. And some of those gardens are the farm tour type of things. And man, I ran into this one lady's fantastic farm and everything. Most of the stuff that you're talking about is there. And she goes, oh, I just rip my tomato plants out every year. Every year she replaces her tomato plants. And I'm like, well, her plants are so much better looking than mine. But she still just takes them out because she'd rather start from scratch because she says the second year they don't produce as much. And I'm like, yeah, but it's so much more work. But anyways, just I'd throw that in there.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Tomatoes didn't work very well indoors for me. And it could have been because the lights weren't powerful enough. But everything else works. Right now I have strawberries growing downstairs. So
once you have more property and you'll be able to grow more things outside, I'm assuming there'll still be the things that you'll keep inside because clearly a seasonal growth period is more of an issue for you than it might be for us here.
I'm going to have a bunch of greenhouses.
Okay.
So I'll grow all year round. I want citrus. I want tropical fruits. I want to have one greenhouse of just tropicals. And
this is great. And so you said that it'll be also educational, so people can go there and they can learn how to do this themselves.
Yeah, so I'll teach permaculture courses. So people will come and they can get a permaculture design certificate and be able to go out and design on their own. And also going to have some of these tiny homes I will be Airbnbs. So people can come and stay for a weekend in a food forest, and all the food will be provided by the property.
Oh, I love that.
That sounds great.
Farm to table.
I think
forest to table.
I think you're in the wrong area. I think you need to move
you need to move here so that we can.
I would south. I would love to have that weather.
Because I got to tell you, I garden year round. So like right now, I've already harvested a little bit of strawberries. They're starting to produce. My tomatoes, I have 2 tomato plants that didn't produce all summer, but I just left them up because I'm like, well, let's see what happens, because they were such huge plants. They're now producing tomatoes here this late in the this is the middle of winter, and they're now they decided it's time to produce tomatoes. So I garden year round here. I always have something, like I said, that I'm eating out of it. So I think you need to move a little bit south from where you are.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I have friends in Florida that have amazing properties down in Florida.
I would imagine.
No doubt.
But then you have to figure out what you're going to plant that can handle being drowned by all the clouds,
the hurricanes and all that.
Oh my heck, that rain in Florida. Well, it's not the rain that's the problem; it's the humidity that.
And the chemtrails.
And then there's that.
Ding, ding, ding.
That's right.
All right. Well, our guest for this show has been Travis Holzem. Travis is a food forest permaculture expert on his way up learning from all of his mentors. Travis, how can people get a hold of you or see all this stuff that you're talking about with us?
They can go to my website, which is foodforestdesignminnesota.com, and that's Minnesota spelled out, or else the abbreviation MN. Either way, it goes to the same website. And you can also find me at Food Forest Design Minnesota on YouTube, where I have about 380 videos on there of all different from some of the installs I've done. And you can learn that way and see some tours of my friend Chad's place in northern Minnesota with 80 acres.
Oh, I love that. I know the rabbit hole we're going to be going down.
I know. I was not aware of all this. And it's like, I can't wait to check it all out. So how far your design, you said that you'll actually be the guy planting the stuff within a few hours of where you live. How far away can you design? Can you just design stuff from anywhere?
Yes, because I can do that virtually. Because I can get all my information from Google Earth,
right?
For your property and the elevations and all that stuff. And then I can work with the homeowner or a property owner virtually, and videos. You send videos to me, images, and we just work together from the very moment we start until we get a design together, and then it comes the install part. After that.
Yeah.
Then.
All right. Well, one more time.
Anywhere in the U.S.
One more time.
Excellent.
Give out your information.
foodforestdesignminnesota.com. And then same name, Food Forest Design Minnesota on YouTube or Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
And that's where you can find me.
And you guys, our listeners, know the regulars, and then if we have any new listeners, we will go ahead and put the information for how you can get a hold of Travis and also view some of the videos on our Facebook page. We also have Instagram and Twitter.
And that one is @SnackALittle.
Yeah, you can also give us a call on our dedicated listener line. We love it when you call. The number is 909-572-0278.
Travis, thank you very much for coming on the show today. It was great fun.
Yes, I can't wait to do the rabbit hole and find all the things that I may or may not grow one day.